Today we're putting together what is a bread and butter build for the channel. A setup I always recommend but never actually build for myself. This is a modern mid-range PC that cuts no corners where it matters but also avoids unnecessary fluff like excessive RGB, in-case screens or other gimmicks that don't improve actual performance. And the best part? Almost everything in this build is brand new or with warranty. At the heart of this system is a brand new Ryzen 7 8700F sitting atop a freshly tested B650 motherboard. This has spent about a month on my test bench, so I know it's ready to go. For storage I'm using a Crucial P3 Plus 1TB NVMe SSD, also brand new. It's fantastic to see SSD prices finally dropping to reasonable levels. At this point, any PC over £500 should have at least 1TB of NVMe storage, eliminating the need for mechanical hard drives altogether. Next up, 32GB of DDR5 6000 Mbps RAM. While it's not a major brand, I'm seriously impressed with its value. It costs about the same as a 5600 Mbps kit from CX, making it a no-brainer upgrade. I mean, sure, it's not the fastest in terms of latency, but for any CPU that isn't a 16-core or an X3D variant, it makes no noticeable difference in gaming. And if you're willing to put up a little tuning effort, you can easily push it to CL36 with zero downsides. Now, moving into the case. This time I actually chose a case that matches the motherboard's form factor, which, if you know me, isn't something I do very often. I pre-installed a brand new Montec Air case with a Corsair AIO cooler and a Corsair PSU, so all that's left is to slot in the components carefully without knocking anything around. This AIO is from Corsair's older lineup, back when they made non-proprietary, actually good coolers instead of today's lockdown ecosystems. Since it's based on an Aesthetic design, it uses a standard mounting system, making a future upgrade easy. You can literally find any bracket you need for a few quid on eBay. Finally, the GPU, an MSI Ventus 2X RTX 4060 Ti, which I picked up from CX with the peel still intact. It was a bit pricier than usual, but with a full 5-year warranty, spending an extra 30 quid over my usual budget feels like a solid investment. Like most people, I love ridiculously oversized GPU coolers. Shout out to the massive colorful GPU I used recently. But realistically, this 4060 Ti only has a 160 watt TDP and won't be pushed much beyond the spec. So while a huge cooler would look great, it's not actually necessary for performance in this case. And with everything installed and working as it should, let's jump straight into the benchmarks. Nowadays, I almost always use internal recording for my tests on most PCs, and it's a real-world use case. Occasionally, I do bust out the capture card for whatever reason I want to eliminate the recording penalty, but not this time. Interesting though, I noticed a higher than expected performance hit while recording, likely due to the less than ideal memory bus on the 4060 Ti. This card also runs on an X8 PCIe bus, which is why I paired it with the 8700F, a CPU that also supports only 8x lanes. However, I don't think that limitation has any significant impact on gaming or anything else. At 1440p, Heaven delivered a very solid 153 FPS while recording, almost matching a 3070 in rasterization and actually exceeding it when ray tracing is involved, as we shall see shortly. In 3D Mark, the system scored 3153 while recording, a very respectable result with no issues during stress tests. As expected, Rocket League, which is an esports title, easily hit the 300 FPS range, with occasional dips into the 290s, but an average of 318 FPS, so nothing to complain about here. Every time I test the 60 class card in Fortnite, I'm amazed by how well it performs, almost as if the developers are optimizing their games for the hardware most people actually use. Shocking, I know. With epic settings and full ray tracing enabled, the 4060 Ti averaged 84 FPS, a phenomenal result for a mid-range GPU. High settings without frame generation, Black Myth posted 69 FPS, a great result. But once frame generation was enabled, that jumped to 105 FPS. While frame generation doesn't improve responsiveness, if you're gaming on a 144Hz monitor, the extra smoothness is absolutely worth it. Horizon Forbidden West ran beautifully, hitting 73 FPS on average. The game doesn't support ray tracing, but honestly that doesn't take away from the experience. It still looks stunning, and if you feel you need more, frame generation is available in this title. Assassin's Creed Mirage cruised past triple digits, averaging 102 FPS on ultra high settings with DLSS set to quality. The frame time graph was smooth throughout, so no complaints here. In Far Cry 6, the headline FPS number of 112 looks great, but I did notice a few hiccups in the frame time graph. It seems shader related though, as there were corresponding dips in the GPU power consumption. And after a couple of runs, the issue resolved itself. The intro scripted scene, which is notoriously demanding, the system managed 67 FPS on average in Dragon Age: The Veil God. In actual gameplay though, this translates to around 90 FPS since there aren't millions of particle effects going off at once. Frame times were also surprisingly solid, with only 3 minor dips, all occurring during scene transitions, so you'd never notice them unless you were staring at the graph. I originally wanted to test Cyberpunk with and without frame generation, but something was off. The RTSS frame counter and the in-game frame counter didn't match at all. Rather than give dodgy numbers, I decided to skip frame gen for now. At ultra settings, 1440p, no path tracing and no frame gen, the 4060 Ti hit 58.1 FPS on average. That might not sound super impressive at first, but considering how punishing these settings are, this is a fantastic result for a mid-range card. And that's it for this one, a no-nonsense, well-balanced mid-range build that delivers great performance without unnecessary extras. If you enjoyed this video, let me know what you'd like to see next, and I'll see you in the next video.